Temple Bound is going to Africa, and we want you to come with us. November 2nd through the 9th, we have been asked to go to Kenya to help a local group of members of the church go to the temple for the first time. And not only are we looking to help them get to the temple, but we're helping raise money for medical supplies, food, and even some shelter for a local orphanage. So if you'd like to join us, here's how you can do that. Number one, follow us on social media. If you'd like to be a part of it remotely, you can check us out on a daily basis. We're doing podcast episodes while we're over there. Secondly, you can donate. We're going to have a GoFundMe link in the show notes of these episodes over the next 2 months. Or you can literally come with us. We have a limited number of seats, and we'd love for you to come join us in this effort of sharing this great good with members of the church overseas. So if you'd like to learn more, please reach out, and we'd love to have you. Happy Monday and welcome back to Temple Bound. Today I'm bringing back a special friend, Brenda Angle, who was on the show a couple of months ago sharing her unbelievable story of how she went to Tanzania and helped a number of saints, hundreds of saints, go across the border into Kenya to go to the Nairobi Temple open house. She's gone back. She went back just last month to take a number of saints to go do baptisms for the dead, as well as receive their endowments. This is such a neat story because the first time was just getting people exposed to the temple. Now she's helping members of the church go through for their first time. And this is a story you don't want to miss because it's going to inspire a new perspective of the temple that you didn't have before. You hear Brenda talk about what it's like for members of the church to go knowing how hard it is to go and not knowing when they'll ever come back. And as always, our adversary showed up in force. Passport issues, border delays, even highway accidents were put in place to make it hard for these saints to go, but they overcame and experienced multiple miracles that we're going to hear about in this episode. So Brenda was right there in the middle of it, helping coordinate all the transportation, the lodging, the meals, and we're so excited to share this with you. So this episode will touch your heart. Let's dive right in to our episode with Brenda Angle. Well, Brenda, welcome back to another episode of Temple Bound. I cannot wait to dive into your most recent African temple journey, but how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing great.
Seriously, that energy,
Yes.
As soon as I saw you, I just got all excited, and we have such a special episode today. You were featured not once, but twice in the church news for the work that you're doing to help members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints go to temples in Africa, specifically in Kenya. And for those of you who are listening who missed the episode that was released in June, please go check that out because that was a miraculous journey. And when you were going the second time here, this was in July? We all kind of thought it would be a lot easier, but it sounds like it did not go any easier.
It was roadblocks. That's my theme for that. It's just there's going to be roadblocks when you go to the temple. There just are. So do we just plan on it or?
Yeah, in your case, you're just realizing it's part of the journey, especially
is.
When you're doing something so big, like take 100, was it 100 people to the temple this time?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys did 327 ordinances.
Yeah.
So let's go through this article and talk about this journey. After your last journey, were you just immediately, despite how hard it was, because it was such a success, when did you decide you were going to go back and do this again?
When we were on the trip with people, they're like, we have to go back now. And, we'd hear people say, I never thought it'd be possible to get my family sealed, or I never thought it'd be possible for me to get my own endowments. And so we wanted them to go back and get their temple recommends.
Yeah.
And let us know, and we wanted to take people back over. And they were excited. We knew we needed to do this.
Because the first time was an open house trip.
That's right.
You were just taking people to see.
Yes.
And then this time it was to actually go in.
Yes.
Okay.
This was the real deal, and it's what we're shooting for, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you decide you're going to go back. You plan this trip. You're thinking, just to review, you go to Tanzania to find members and have them cross over into Kenya to go to the Nairobi temple. Is that correct?
That is their closest temple. Mm-hmm.
All right. So just walk us through what happened.
So we come right in before the branch presidents are working hard. They're teaching classes. They're helping these people get their temple recommends. And so they're preparing for this. And so we thought, well, this one's going to be way easier because last time we just had people that wanted to go and they're jumping on the buses and going with us. And anyway, we thought this would be way more organized. So it was. We had people had gotten their temple recommends. We still had to get them passports because the passports we got before only are good for like a couple of days. So I have to go get passports again, and then they have to have yellow fever cards, which most of them had from the trip before. And we did have a few people come that weren't on the first trip. So customs, immigration shut down 1 week before we left. So nobody can go get their passports. And we're like, wow, we're not going to be able to get across the border. So the night before at 7:30, a really good member of the church, Emmanuel, he stayed up all night trying to get all these people's passports through. By the time we had to leave, he was short 13 of them, and he said, I'll just try and finish them up and send them to customs in Nairobi, which when we got there, they're like, I said, he's going to send it to you. And they're like, we don't have any way to get these. So It was a great idea, but we didn't get them all. But anyway, he stayed up all night, good man, and got these. And anyway.
And we're talking dozens and dozens of passports. Like he stayed up all night.
It was all night.
Because there was no capability of producing these passports except it started being capable the night before you were going in. And you come over from the United States. They've been planning this trip. And so a member of the church stays in and stays up all night producing these passports. So the vast majority of people were able to cross over into Kenya.
Well, we all did, but we finally got them. So miracle number one is that they opened up at 7:30 the night before because he had been down there all week waiting for these systems to come back up.
Sure.
And it never did. So that was the miracle. And
that it even came back online.
Yes, and so we didn't know all night long. Anyway, we got the people together, and we're still short some, so we meet in Moshi with a bus and load those people up. We go to Arusha again to pick up those people and go, and we know there's 13 of them that don't have passports, so we're at that point hoping they will send it to customs. But when we get to customs, they call me into the back office and they're like, well, we can't get anything here. What are you going to do with these people? So on their wall, they say no bribery or no buying things off. But we know that happens. So I had my dear African friend, he kept throwing me out there. It's like, you being a white person is not good in here. So you go out and just whatever. So I left and he negotiated. It took us 3 hours and they finally let us get these people in, the 13. And they were just sitting there scared. Like one, her husband was going in, one, the baby can't go in. The mom, it's like, wow. But we got them all through. So it took us a good while. Like our whole trip, starting from the very start to when we arrived at our hotel, was 12 hours.
Oh my gosh,
it was
12
so
hours.
hard.
That's a long day with buses. Was it hot?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Africa.
Always hot.
That's a pretty obvious answer.
No, it was. It's a little cooler in Nairobi, actually, but yeah, it's warm and yeah. So anyway, it was a long, long journey. Really interesting is on the road, we come up on this roadblock, just a big giant crash, and the road is literally blocked with big trucks and everything. So I snapped a picture of it. I'm like, this is roadblocks going to the temple. We all have them no matter what. I mean, I've been going a long time and it doesn't really lighten up a lot. So,
which is an interesting point I want to just throw in here to the audience, is that as a young lady, you wanted to see all the temples in the world, is what you were telling me before. And at the time there were 16. Goal.
Yes.
And so, tell me a little bit about roadblocks, not just this time, but like other times that what are the common roadblocks for you, Brenda, as when you're trying to go to the temple? What are the ones that the adversary is constantly putting in your path?
Just little silly things or big things. I don't care. Like I remember spilling a drink on my dress on the way there. It's like, oh, that's not going to work. Or, back in the day, getting there without your temple recommend, they won't let you go in. Like I couldn't find it. I'm like, I just had it. I couldn't find it, and you couldn't go in. Or just like I had a blowout on the way. I mean, it can be Satan doesn't care. He's just going to try and discourage you somehow. Time is a big thing. Like
Sure.
just you figure out you have time to go, and I love scheduling because that makes us a little more with it on that. But things will show up that'll just be like, whoa, that has probably been my biggest one lately, is just having to fill in with things that I didn't have any control over.
Yeah, it's funny how if we don't have a schedule, how that can be, it can set us up for failure, not just because like we get so busy that we don't go, but for me, recently I made a commitment to go on a day, but I didn't schedule a time, which is actually pretty typical for me. This particular day, it was one of those where I kind of just crammed it in.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of having a bad attitude,
Yeah.
like not like angry at anyone in particular, but just kind of like, woe is me, I'm so busy.
Yeah.
And I go in there and I change, still miserable. I get into the session. I'm kind of like, yep, here we go again. Like honestly, I had such a chip on my shoulder. But what was interesting is I remember going into the celestial room and just kind of wanting to beeline straight to change and go home. And I had this gentle impression just to sit down for a minute. And I went and sat down, and I just kind of took a few big breaths and just let myself be for just a second. And I remember feeling this wave of peace come over me. And it was such an interesting thing, Brenda, because, you know, sometimes those obstacles are the adversary. Sometimes those obstacles are our free agency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so in this case, I wasn't leveraging it the best that it could. But instead of like a Heavenly Father, you know, kind of being like, Will, you should have planned this better. You shouldn't have such a bad attitude. You walked 5 minutes to the temple, not the people of Kenya, right? You have been blessed with so much. You should never have a bad attitude. It was like a warm embrace from Father going, yeah, I know this is hard for you.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, wow, what a loving experience. So sometimes those roadblocks are our free agency, but not in Africa.
No, yeah.
In Africa, these are literal roadblocks. So that was the second roadblock. You come up across this accident.
Yes.
And then you guys, how long did that delay you, or what was the deal?
It wasn't a really long delay. It was, they worked us around it pretty good. We sat there for a bit, though.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was like a half hour or something, but we got through it, which was awesome. Then we were on our way again. But
now, how many people in the group were going there for the first time?
I would say that they hadn't gone to the open house.
Yes. Well, no, I mean, this is their first time going into the temple.
All of them. This was all of their first time to do an ordinance. Yeah.
And were they going for baptisms, endowments, or a mix?
Mix. And we had one family get sealed, which was amazing, wonderful, but they had to get their endowments first. And then lots of youth and I would say young men that went to do baptism. So
okay.
We knew how many we had getting their endowments, but when we actually got to the temple to, I said, let's just separate them because I will take the people getting their endowments over to get their garments. And so I said, everybody getting your endowments, come with me. Okay, well, remember, they speak Swahili and I speak English. So I have my bus driver, who is not a member of the church, explaining to them what they're doing. See if
so a non-member of the church is going, if you're coming for your endowments.
What is an endowment, and then what do they even know? And by the way, I did get on the different buses and teach them about the temple, asking any questions that they wanted to ask, but they didn't really know. You don't know what to ask until you've
even
been there.
when you're raised in the church, you go for the first time, you don't really know.
You're not really sure. So I'm trying to cover everything. I talk about endowments. I talk about baptism. But anyway, I have this big long line of people getting garments, and after a while, I'm like, you're only 14. I said, wait, show me your temple recommend, because they weren't checking the garment place, but he does now. But they're all new too. Anyway, and so they took my grandson actually went with me, Bryant, who just got home from his mission in Argentina. So he takes all the kids going to do baptisms and a lot of adults because they haven't been a member for a year, so they're doing baptisms. So the ones that had it all figured out went with him. I have this big group that we're giving out garments to them so that we can take them over, and then I send them over to the temple. Well, they get in the temple and they only had baptism recommends.
Oh my goodness.
So they don't even understand. They didn't understand, and so then I had to, get the garments back from them because they would wear them and they would probably we just can't do that, right?
Right. And so, how did they take that? Because how did they view the garment? Like for them, what was that like for
they were so excited just to get them. They would hold them to their chest, and then I have to take them away from them. You know, it was horrible. Like I'm just like, I'm so sorry, but you can have them again someday.
So they cherished them, whether or not
they were so excited. And even when they were leaving for the day and their buses were pulling out, they would come out and just beg for them back. And I'm like, you'll get them. I'll say, come over here and help me translate and tell them that when they come back and get their endowments, then they can have garments. And that was just heartbreaking. But we got through that line. We got them into the temple in their different places, and they did all their...
was this one day? Was it multiple days?
Just one day. This was just...
So you came in the day before, and was it one full day? And then, so were they there for 2 nights?
They were only there for 1 night.
Oh.
Which would have been nice if they could have stayed longer. But 1 night, and then a lot of them, they can't get off work for very long. It's very difficult. They only have 2 sessions in the morning and 2 sessions in the evening. And by then, we had to get them back to their homes. So we could only do those morning sessions.
Whoa.
And so they really needed a longer span. And so anybody traveling there want to go, they do have dorms there that people can come and stay in, and then they can just go multiple times. And the church will help them, with that. But we had to get these people back to their jobs, to their families. I had so many moms that left their babies.
Oh, this was a big deal. So 12 hours there, 1 night. They do what they're going to do, and then you had to drive 12 hours back, or was it less?
Well, it wasn't that long going back because they probably, I wasn't on the bus with them then, but they probably got through customs way quicker going home.
Sure. And the adversary is not in the way because it's already done.
They've already done it, yeah.
Yeah.
So they did all get back home, but... So then we just took them in and we did they did their initiatory and then their the endowment, which was the most spirit packed.
Talk to me about that.
My goodness.
What was it like to be in an endowment session with members of the church from Tanzania who are going to the temple for the very first time and they're doing all of the things? What was that like?
They're just so intent. They were just so intent on what was being said and everything about it. They were watching, they were listening, they were just so into it. And I think the biggest part for me was when they asked people to come up for the prayer at the end. And, every one of them jumped up and ran up there. And we had a lot more women than men, so they weren't able to all get in, but they all just wanted to be there. And I had done I came home and did a session the next week, and the session was packed. It was one of the biggest temples, and it was packed, not one empty chair, and they couldn't get people up to the circle. I just felt so bad. I'm like, if we had the same enthusiasm as these people did, they just wanted to be there. They want every bit of it. They just want.
They're savoring
every part of, yeah.
It's like they sacrificed so much to get there that when they were exposed to it, everything mattered so much more.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was really, really touching. The reverence in there, just reverent and very worshiping, very worshiping.
That's a great word, worshiping, Brenda. Can I ask you, since you've done this a few times, the first time was to the open house. The second time you're actually helping them do their live ordinances. How has that affected your temple worship?
I just keep remembering them. Like when I've been to the temple since then, and it's when we're going up for the prayer, when we're just sitting there and I think we talked about this last time, is going as if it's your first time going, and how intent would you be, how intentional would you be on everything that's being said. So that's very much affected me. And I think just their spirits are so pure that they don't take it for granted, and I might do that sometimes because I just go in and and I need to just not take it for granted because it's a very special gift to do that. So to be there in the temple, anyway. I'm feeling so bad about the story I shared earlier. Yeah, see there?
Like I just, oh my goodness, especially because now I'm realizing that 61% of our audience is actually from Africa, and so
we can easily take it for granted and our lives can be so busy, and so we just forget because it's so available to us. And so
there's so much opportunity here. I think it becomes a distraction. I think it's a good thing. I think one of the biggest tools the adversary uses against us isn't necessarily big, huge temptation for evil
Yeah.
when we're temple bound. I think it's usually good, better, best. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, temple being the best, here's something good called, earning money at a job for a family.
Right.
And since we're blessed to be in America, we have these opportunities to do things. I was at Education Week last week, and for just a couple days, and I was really prayerful about getting revelation on what is it the Lord would want me to focus on. And it was so crystal clear. And this, you would think this isn't a big revelation, but it was a time where I needed it, where it was family. And then it was temple bound for me because this is my personal like ministry, but anything in the church, and then everything else.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing that as like circles within, the family and my relationship with my Heavenly Father being the central thing, the second layer being the church, and then the third thing being work, like circles that are, I just realized how sometimes we put the priority mixed up in that case. And
we do.
so these wonderful people go, can you share some of the story? Because one of the things you said that you just quickly went through was that there was a family that went through, got endowments and got sealed.
Yes.
So were you there for that?
I was there for that. So
what was that like?
So we get them through the endowment, and the system in the church went down. So the Nairobi Temple computers and their whole system, they couldn't get the family punched in. They couldn't get the records in. So 2 hours later, they ended up just writing it down. But so even that opposition is like, we just need to get this family sealed. And so, yeah, they brought their little children in, and we got to sit through that. And it was just, I don't know what words can you do, but the people were out sitting on the bus waiting to go home while we were
Sealing
waiting
that
to get them.
family.
We were getting them. They're just patiently sitting there. They're the most patient people in the world. So anyway, that was just an absolute sweet little treasure. There was a lot of, I tried this time to focus more on individuals and what their stories were in getting there. And I wrote up with a dear lady and started talking to her about, tell me about your children, whatever. And she has an autistic son that's 20 years old. And she said, I've never left him. He's pretty, he's got it pretty rough. And she found someone to take care of him. And her phone stopped working. It wouldn't work that whole day, the whole way up there. And even when we got to Nairobi, it wouldn't work. And she said, I'm just so worried about him. And I can't call and check. I can't.
Yeah. Anyway,
She got a phone from somewhere. A lot of them don't have phones, but I just told her, there's promises of protection when you go to the temple. He'll be okay. And that calmed her. And anyway, she reported back to me later that he was safe and good the whole time. There was 2 grandmas that one had to, their daughter had just dropped a baby off to her, and a lot of grandmas raise their grandchildren there. It's very, very common. So the one little grandma, she just said, we wanted to come so bad. We were planning on it, and I didn't have anybody to watch this baby. And then just right before they left, somebody showed up and said, we'll take care of the baby so you can go.
Wow.
And the other grandma, she didn't have any diapers, and she couldn't get on a bus and go with this baby without diapers.
Sure.
And so she said I wasn't going to be able to go. And she was sharing this on the bus with us when I was going around having them tell their stories. And she said someone just didn't know she was going, nothing, just showed up with a whole bag of diapers they didn't need.
What? And that in the
Disposable
United
ones,
States, that
yeah.
would be a miracle.
Yeah.
In Africa,
That's a big
that sounds
miracle.
like an unheard of thing.
You don't see
That's a resource.
disposable diapers. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't use them, and not the poor people. So she got diapers come. So they all had their own little individual roadblocks, and they had all their own individual miracles to get there. And
Wow.
so that other one of Rahima, so he's my really dear friend. He's 19 years old, I think, and he tried to go the last time. And he
To the
came
open house.
To the open house, and he came down to the church to get on the buses, and they had left. He was late. And for him to come, I've been to his house many times, and it is a dirt, bumpy road. It takes you forever. It's a good 2-hour jaunt. And so he missed it. And that could be because the bus was, it could be for so many reasons, but he felt so bad. And so at this time, I went all the way out to his house, and I said, I'm going to take you down with me, and you're going to stay with me where I'm staying so that you can go on this trip. So he went looking for his stuff, and he was so proud. He showed me his temple recommend, and he was so proud. I would go, okay, but you also need your passport and your yellow fever. And they looked and couldn't find it. I said, I've got to get going, but if you do find it, you let me know. But I've got to go. So I left, and then we get a message later that night. I found it. So we picked him up on the side of the road.
He
heading out.
he crossed the border and everything?
No, this is before the border.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
just from his home. So his home's way out in the boondocks. So he comes down to the main highway.
I see.
And we picked him up. Yeah.
Wow. So he was able to make it.
was
And he
able
missed
to
the
go.
open house.
He missed the open house.
Oh, man.
He was thrilled. So he got to go do baptisms, and it'll stick in their heart forever.
Now, this is
Like-
not an easy trip, by the way. I mean, when you're getting down to Africa, I went there with Care for Life a year ago, and I've traveled quite a bit. This was another level because you've got, it's like 10 to 11 hours to like London or Amsterdam, and then you're flying another 8 to 9 down to Kenya, or in Mozambique, you're going another like 13, 14.
Yeah.
So you've done this twice in 6 months. And something keeps calling you back to that. What is it that's calling you back to Africa, Brenda?
Well, the temple. I mean, gathering Israel, like, that's my love, my passion. And I've done a lot of things in Africa. We've drilled wells, we've taught at schools, we've done so much, but it's kind of rolled into this temple thing. And it's talk about good, better, best. That's the best.
I see. There's nothing
There's nothing
better than the gathering of Israel that you feel when you're in Africa with these
No.
humble, patient, intentful saints that savor every last drop.
It's just like, how come I get to do this? I don't even know why. But
So it
it's
feels
pretty
like a
amazing.
privilege for you then.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing privilege and blessing. It's life changing. I like, wow, if I could pick something I wanted to do, it would be, family, then taking people to the temple. So yes.
Well, I think that's so beautiful. And I just want to show for people who are watching on YouTube, Brenda was kind enough to bring me back some beautiful gifts from Africa. One of them, the main one I just want to share, is this beautiful African angel that they make over in Kenya. I sure appreciate
it's made
this.
out of a fruit. The little hair is made out of a fruit there, and they
fruit?
make angels with it. They'll dye it, and they'll do whatever, but
It is
yeah, our
beautiful.
friends make those.
Well, I can't thank you enough for that. And you're going back. You're like, not only have you been obviously a number of times, but like you're going back and going back and going back. Tell us about this next trip that you're going on and what your purpose is.
Okay. Yes, I come home and I have to recuperate because it was very tough on the body. But it's in your system and it's hard to go back. So this trip, we're going to go back and take a few people for lots of different reasons. But we have a orphanage there. They are 270 kids got wiped out in a flood a year and a half ago.
Their orphanage got wiped out.
Yeah, their buildings got wiped out, and so they had to relocate these kids. They're really all over Kenya.
These are true orphans. You were telling me.
They're true orphans. They don't have family. So a lot of orphanages, they'll have family, but they can't feed them, so they send them there so they can get food. But these are true orphans. They just find them,
They have
no
nothing.
family. They're walking down the streets. They're laying alone. Nobody claims them. Nobody wants them, and so they're adorable kids. But the flood washed out their home, if you can call it a home, their structure, and they lost everything. So they're scattered all around Kenya and different just Christian churches and stuff, and they don't go to school because they don't have finances to go to school. They're not really able to go to church because there are not churches there. We have a group of them in Nairobi, 72 of them, and those kids she did bring to the temple open house. She actually gathered up 98 of her orphans. We don't know how. I've never been able to figure it out from somehow. And we sent a bus for her to bring them to the temple open
How old are
house.
these orphans?
They're anywhere from 6 months to 19.
So these are true kids.
True
Yeah.
orphans. The little 6-month-old, the mom died and left the baby. So yeah, they're true orphans, and that was probably the highlight of their entire life, was to get on a bus and come all the way to the open house, and then we of course fed them all dinner afterwards, and anyway, it was a
mind
real
blow.
sweet
I remember hearing their
yeah,
previous story. That dinner was really
it was really
like, for us, it would be like a nice
It
normal
was
dinner.
very
For them,
nice.
it was like this
it was
experience that they
very
hadn't had
nice,
before.
yes.
So you're going over there to help these orphans reestablish a home. Everyone's hearing on these intros, this episode is going to launch this focus for November and December to help not just members of the church, but people in Africa received much needed supplies,
Yes.
and for this one particular group of orphans, a shelter. And then some of the funds are going to help actually transport saints to the temple for the first time, including
Yes.
this one woman, this amazing woman, Vanessa,
Vanessa.
who has been in charge of this orphanage. And she was raised in that orphanage.
She was raised in the orphanage. She's an orphan. The two mamas that were helping there passed away this year, so she is the sole. She's the mama of all these.
She's in charge of all
kids.
these orphans.
And she believes, I mean, we've been trying to find a place for them to go, and she's like, no, these are my children. Like, we're a family, and this is what God's asked me to do, is to come and be in charge of them. And so we've just got to help her do her mission. And so she's a member of the church. She's asked me to take her through to get her endowments, which we'll do on this trip. And then there's several of her older kids that just their dream, she said this is their dream, is to be baptized in the church. And so we're hoping that we can get them to church enough that they'll allow them to get baptized.
Because it's an hour.
It's an hour
from,
drive.
from wherever they are now. And where are they now?
They're in Nairobi. It's like on.
But is it a building that they're in? Like, how are these orphans even being housed with their orphanage being destroyed from the recent flood?
So a lot of the kids are in churches. The churches are just letting them stay there, which it's probably getting a bit old because it's been a year and a half.
It's like crashing on a couch of another charity.
So we've got to do that. These ones in Nairobi, we got them someone to let them stay in this home.
Okay.
And they really have to stay inside the home. They don't let them go out because none of the neighbors want orphans running in the neighborhood. So they mostly stay inside. And if you can imagine, maybe 1,700 square feet. I don't even know if it's that big, but there's 72 kids in there.
Oh my God. 72 kids in a 1,700 square feet-ish.
And they just sit there. And they are the sweetest, kindest, most well-behaved. I just gave them their first ice cream cone when I was there.
What was that like? So you gave these kids their first ice cream cone ever.
Yes. So we're at the grocery store, and I was trying to get her some supplies, some groceries and stuff that someone had donated. And I just said, Vanessa, have they ever had, I saw they had ice cream. I'm like, wow. And this is in Kenya, which they're a little more upbeat than Tanzania. And I said, they have ice cream here. I said, have you ever had that? She said, no. And they had cones. I'm like, we're going to go give all these 70 whatever kids cones. So they didn't even know what to do with them when we gave them. But the first time they took a lick, they knew what to do after that.
They figured it out.
The cutest thing. And when I left, I said, when I come back, we're going to do ice cream. They're like screaming. They were so excited about that. But that's just shows you they're just grateful and adorable children. But we want to get the gospel to them, which is quite an opportunity to just say, here we have this mom who's LDS, and so you have to watch for her to be on your podcast.
Yes, we are going to. Brenda's going to help us out because we're going to be going, as you guys know from the introductions, is that Temple Bound is going, and you guys are welcome to come with us to Kenya to join Brenda in this wonderful mission. So please donate. This is my call to action. There's no money making in Temple Bound. Anything you donate, 100% will go to helping establish this orphanage. There's going to be a GoFundMe link in the piece, but please come if you guys can. If you can come, and if you can't make it this first time, it sounds like there's going to be opportunities down the road, but this was special for me because I cannot wait to meet Vanessa. A young woman who grew up in an orphanage with nobody and then turns around and becomes the mother of 70 plus orphans herself. 270, sorry. Yeah. And so she's over them. She's a member of the church. There are plenty of others that would join if they could just get to the hour away church, spend some time there, and then, of course, the temple. Yeah. So there's a huge opportunity. The only barrier in their case is money.
That's right. It is. And maybe we need to tell the bishop that many's coming so they can get extra sacrament bread. So I'm like, can they fit this many kids in there? It's like, wow. But yeah, we're really working on that right now, trying to get them just to church. And so and she's teaching them the gospel at home. It's like she is trying to teach them. They know a lot of the primary songs and stuff. So she's been trying, but that's a lot of people, and that's only the ones there, not the ones in the country so much. So it's a big project, and to me that's gathering Israel, because I see all these potential missionaries there. I see all these potential moms and dads who can grow up with the gospel and have hope, and so that one's kind of gotten my heart. Yeah, I feel so inspired. For me,
I think there's something even about being with you, Brenda, that makes everything, it puts it in perspective. It makes me so grateful, and I'm starting to get a little emotional, but that I've got the temple so close, that I was blessed to be in a country where I have an opportunity to do something for somebody else. And I think that these individuals who chose this path before they came to earth are there to help all of us. They're the leaders. The people in Africa, these wonderful men and women who are just patient and kind and giving, and they're the people that are there for us to be. We're not there to serve them. They're there to help us
change
grow.
Our lives.
Yeah,
and I can see them in heaven, getting their calls to earth and hoping that, wanting someone to teach them this gospel, and for them to get to the temple. That's just got to be a desire deep down in there. They want to come and be that. So we can't measure the good that it'd do for even one person to go and have their lives changed by the temple. You just can't measure that. What will that do for the rest of their life and generations after them? So that's my whole shift in Africa. I've done lots of things, but that's been the highlight for sure.
What is your vision, Brenda? Since you've been going so often and since you keep going, I get the sense that you're figuring it out as you go. And we've had some deeper discussions around what's going on behind the scenes, which we don't want to mention here necessarily. But what is your vision? Like, what would you ideally see, and what would you like to help create over in Africa as it pertains to Gathering Israel?
Oh, just bigger scale of what's going on, and that as these people come and get their temple, make their temple covenants and go back into these communities, it will just launch all of it faster. Like, it will just take it and just push it farther. Like, if these young men come back from missions and they can now be leaders in the church, that they need leadership. We need moms who understand things so that they can raise their children raise their children up to God. And so my vision of that is just to have this spread and become like we are here, except I want them to keep their patience, their just love of God. Like, it's like I just had the taxi driver take me to the temple, and I started talking to him about the gospel. He came in the visitor center with me, and he's texting me back, "I'm going to church. I'm having the missionaries come over." I'm like, this is really easy. It's like I just shared with him the gospel and promised him the Lord would bless him. So I got him paying his tithing. I've got him, it just was the guy driving me to they're just so ripe. And so I want him to keep that. I want him to keep that deep love for God. And it is ingrained. Even when I go into the schools and teach, no matter where they came from, they love God. And so that's why it's just booming there. But so to go to the temple and put that on the top of it, we can't measure what that'll do.
What a wonderful opportunity for us to have a hand in helping God create the spark. Yeah. The temples are now there. The anchors are set. The pillars of light are built. So we can help God, not the other way. It's really God's work. We just get to be a tool in his hand to create the spark that ignites the flame that spreads across this country of people who are ready for the gospel. And that fire that is spreading is the Spirit of God. It is the Holy Ghost. It is the sealing power of these covenants and ordinances. And what we get by being a tool in a small way and being able to support this effort is perspective, light, knowledge, connection to our Heavenly Father. Brenda, I love this. I want to share from the church article, which I encourage everyone. It came out on August 18th, 2025 at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard for some reason. It gives you the exact time that it came out. But there's some beautiful pictures. I'll create a link in the notes of the show so that people can come look at these beautiful pictures of young men standing in front of the Christus outside of the temple, a young woman showing her temple recommend. The roadblock that Brenda mentioned is there. And all these different stories that we didn't get to today as they're there. But Elder Ulysses Suarez, who, by the way, I'll mispronounce his name horribly, even though I'm fluent in Spanish. He is, I've said this before on the show, but I've been dragging my feet to start Temple Bound. When I got the inspiration, we had the name. In his talk 2 years ago in April General Conference, he used the word Temple Bound
Oh my
as a
goodness.
verb. And that was God's way of saying, if you don't do this, I'll give it to somebody else. And that's when we started the show. He was the one who dedicated this temple in Kenya. And he said, "May thy abundant blessings found within these walls be poured out upon all those who shall enter herein, that they may feel the influence of thy sweet spirits and thy tender, loving mercies in all that they do within this holy house." The Latter-day Saints, like Jerome Valerian, who recently received his mission call, acknowledge those feelings while in that temple. Quote, "I wish I could just stay here," he said. So, Brenda, thank you so much for being on the show. This was such a great episode. We are obviously going to do another episode in Africa together.
Yes, let's do it.
And we'll have Vanessa and maybe you, listeners, as you guys are feeling the spirit. I would ask you to follow that impression, because it is such a gift to even be near it. And yeah, Brenda, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It's great.
Thanks again for listening to today's episode of Temple Bound. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to join us over on Instagram at Temple Bound Podcast to receive additional information as well as previews of our upcoming episodes. See you over there.